Okay, I'm Mandy from CIPD. Welcome to a session on Agile Learning in Theatre 11. Now we've got about 3 or 4 minutes before we start, so social collaborative learning is really important. So turn to the person next to you and just say hi, introduce yourself, tell them what you're up to in learning, and let's get a bit of buzz in the room, and then I'll come steaming on in about 3 minutes with some practical ideas about agility. So just have a chat to the people around you. Go on, it's a conference, you can talk to people. It's cool, okay? They might be able to solve your problem for you, okay? Tell them what you're up to. Our corporate wisdom is so great that between us we'll be able to solve all the problems around learning and development. Okay. The one danger at learning shows is that once you get L&D people talking, they'll never stop. So if you're solving your problem right now with the person next to you, you just keep going because there's good wisdom out there. I'm Andy from CIPD. I'm head of learning and development content at the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development. We are a membership body, and our whole purpose in life is to provide brilliant professional development and qualifications for folks like you and I. And what I'm going to share with you in the next half an hour is our own personal journey, how we've taken an institute which was quite traditional about 4 years ago, to the place now where it's delivering mobile, agile, worldwide digital solutions. And we're going to share 10 tips we've found from our own experience, which I think you'll be able to take away. So hopefully there's something in here for you guys which will be very, very practical. So that's where we're going to be heading on this one. Those of you who are standing, I'm sorry, agility, you have to be quick if you want to get a seat, so just stick with us, okay? So if you see folks flagging around the edges, just pass water to them, okay, to make sure they're okay, because it's quite warm in here. The amazing thing about technology is you learn something new every day. I have no idea what this icon is here. It's appeared on my PowerPoint, so if you're finding technology is a bit bamboozling, just join the rest of us. I have no idea what that is, but it's probably something really important. You can hook up with me at Andy Lancaster UK. Don't put Andy Lancaster because that's a video producer in America who gets shed loads of stuff about CIPD, and I'm beginning to get to know him really well. So I'm at UK, and if you want to follow up on any of the stuff we're talking about, that's my email address, and we're on stand T10. And we've got some freebies and some goodies for you if you want to come and see us after. So, I'm going to start with Alice in Wonderland. Anybody read Alice in Wonderland? Wave at me frantically, because this is a show and you do those kind of things. Okay, so this is Alice and the Red Queen's Race, written in 1871. And we see here that Lewis has some kind of prophetic insight as to what's going to be happening in the world. And this is what Alice says. Well, in our country, said Alice, panting a little, you generally get somewhere else if you run very fast for a long time, as we have been doing. A slow sort of country, said the Queen. Now here you see it takes all the running you can do to keep in the same place. If you want to get somewhere else, you must run at least twice as fast. And that's the reality for us in learning and development. Now, it's getting faster and faster. We're having to respond quicker and quicker. So in a sense, this kind of sense, what we did 5 years ago will no longer sustain the organisations we work in, who are requiring far more from us. So just with the person next to you, just share 2 reasons why you think your organisation might need to be more agile, okay? You can't be wrong on this one, it's your stuff. So why do you think your organisation might need to be a bit more agile now? Just for about 30 seconds, just get some buzz in the room. You guys on the edges, you can do this as well. Why do you need to be more agile right now? Okay. So with agility and aplomb, I'll pull you back together again. You guys at the back, you're doing great. I can see you're engaging, so thanks for doing that, because you're at least 15 yards from me, so it's good that you're engaging as well. We asked this question around some of the work we've been doing with organisations, and these are some of the things that we've come up with, why organisations need to be far more agile now. So business needs are changing, we've got to get to market quicker. Who's in a retail environment here now? Okay, so you guys, this is just getting insane in terms of what you're having to provide now. Customer needs. We're demanding people right now. I used to be very happy with things being delivered for 3 and 4 days, and now if Amazon can't deliver in a day now, I'm getting really irritated. So I'm a demanding customer, so I need agile stuff. We're getting lots of feedback which we need to act on, new ideas, new environments, technologies. This is why we're here today, because we know technology is moving incredibly quickly, and that's affecting how we do our business. in multiple stakeholders, dispersed workforces. Who works with people in across the UK? Let's just have a wave if your folks are across the UK. Okay, so yeah, we've got some of that. Anybody working in a worldwide setting? Let's give them a round of applause. I mean, man alive, guys. Oh, and how the heck do you manage learning across a worldwide scenario? It's a real challenge in terms of what we're doing. And what we can see is that the inability to be agile in business, and we'll see in a minute in terms of learning, has a real challenge. So in nature, around about 10,000 species become extinct every year. This is the white rhino. Looking at some of the research around how companies are failing, if you look at the Fortune 500 companies of 60 years ago, only 12% still make that list. And in the UK, the stats are around about 40 companies go bankrupt every day. So there is someone on our heels. Whatever business you're in, me as an institute, there is someone on our heels, and we need to be agile in order to respond to that. And we know the case studies down the side of organisations that have not managed to make that kind of agile change. So the premise for the 10 things I'm going to share with you now is that agile organisations, if our businesses are going to be successful, they have to be agile. And that requires us as learning professionals to have an agile approach to how we develop learning and deploy that learning. We need to be one step ahead of the crowd. We did some research with Towards Maturity, who are in the other hall, about 18 months ago called Evolving Roles Enhancing Skills. And I have a freebie for you on our stand, T10, if you want to grab the key insights from that. There's some infographics there. But this showed that the skill set of L&D professionals is now changing very fast. So the research base shows that agility is coming in. Now this chart here, if you're at the back, I can explain it to you. The purple bars show the things that organisations recognise they're going to be doing more of in learning, and the grey bars are the ones which they're currently got people in their L&D team doing this. And what you'll notice from our research, this report is free, by the way, on the CIPD website. You can grab this for nothing. Things like social collaborative learning and digital learning and coaching are now being seen as key elements in order to provide great learning within organisations, because those things are agile and responsive. So if you've not got into coaching yet, peer coaching is going to be a key way we're seeing in which organisations will enable kind of competency and skills to be delivered. The only interesting one that's going backwards from the research we did on this one is face-to-face learning. Now, it doesn't mean we're not going to do that, because today, I mean, just look at the person next to you. It's worth coming here just to see them. They're beautiful people. Have a look at them. Just turn around. They're nice people. They're good. So face-to-face is not going to go, but what we're seeing is that most organisations are recognising that face-to-face doesn't provide the agility that we need in terms of some of the learning we need to provide. We often live in safe territory. We're at Learning Tech today, and we've got all this stuff going on, and VR and AI and all this kind of stuff, but we still go to hotels and sit in cabaret. We call it cabaret because it sounds exciting, doesn't it? It's sitting around tables. That's much of what many organisations are still doing. So we've got to recognise that some of the stuff is uncomfortable now, but if you're feeling discomfort about the agility you've got to provide for your learning, don't worry, because it's that discomfort which probably will create something really innovative. And for us, we went from a course which was, this is where we tested this, we went from a course which was face-to-face, and within 9 months created a fully mobile digital agile solution which is now in 45 countries in 9 months. Okay, so it might sound a bit shocking, but what I'm going to show you is how we managed to do some of that kind of stuff. So the definition of insanity is we just keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting it to change. So that's not what we're going. We're going to be doing something very new. So again, just share with your neighbour. There's no blame or embarrassment here, but how agile do you think your learning function is on a scale of 1 to 10? Just kind of give a sense of where you're. I'm not going to ask you to shout out. What do you reckon? How agile? Could you provide a solution within 24 hours? Let's use that as a test. Can you? Okay, so just turn the person. How agile do you think you are? A solution in 24 hours. Could you do that? Just for a second, okay? What do you reckon? So when we kind of do this session, and I get the privilege to kind of go around places and talk about this kind of thing, we find most people kind of sit around the 4, 5 and 6 when we have the context of, can we get something in 24 hours? The reality is our learners right now in our organisations, 70% of those, around about that kind of figure, the evidence would show, will be going to Google first of all, or a search engine to get their learning need. So we look at ourselves, and I mean, you look a mighty fine bunch as I look out here. We are great learning professionals, but our learners are going to Google because it delivers a quick solution for them. So what we've got to work out is how do we work within that pacey environment to get ourselves. So I'm going to reframe what learning support looks like. So this is a reframe of how we can go agile. 10 practical things which I promised on the blurb, so let's make sure you get your 10, okay? So the first one is, we need to recognize that the business need is the priority above everything else, and we need to respond with urgency. So it's a rhetorical question, but do you know what's keeping your chief exec and your senior team awake at night? Well, it could be all sorts of things, couldn't it? But it's a good question to ask. What is concerning you in the business? Because those are the things which we need to be responding to with urgency. Not necessarily doing our standard, I mean, if you're doing Excel training, well, good for you, and God bless you. I manage so many Excel intermediate courses and pivot tables and presentation skills. Anybody doing managing, challenging conversations, I mean, we know how this stuff is out there. So we need to recognize that business needs are really crucial, and Agile is about understanding what the business need. And as we make that the priority, it changes the frame of how we're going to do things. So a really great question is a consultancy question, which I think we should be asking to our leaders, is what would you like me to fix, and to our learners as well. Do we know exactly what's troubling them? Because that's the agile solutions which they're looking for. Wouldn't it be kind of cool to understand what their Google stream is of their learning needs, if we could only capture those things which are really important? The second one is, we've got to think big, and for a man who's only 5'6" in flat shoes, it's something I have to do quite a bit. We have to think big, but start small. And sometimes it's about speedy development, and it's about piloting, and it's about making some first steps without necessarily finishing the program. So when we, let you into a little secret here, when we launched our online, and this was an undergraduate level program in learning worldwide, we put the system up and there were 7 units available, all out there, and we'd only written 1. And that was quite disconcerting for me because as a bit of a control freak, I'd like to have all the units developed before we go there. Now the interesting thing is we found as we went through the process that our learners were giving us such brilliant feedback that we could tweak the program as we went. So if you're a bit like me, a bit of a control freak perfectionist, we've got to recognize that Agile means that we can start small, not have everything fixed, but work through a development process as we go. Anybody find that uncomfortable? It's just, thank you, just you and I. The rest of the folks probably find it so uncomfortable they don't want to admit it, okay? So, it's about speedy development, and if people ask us, can we get something fixed quick? The answer is yes, we can do that. And kind of linked to that, number 3 is about iterative improvement. Feel free to take pictures of the slides, guys. These are out there. I can't email them to you, so if you want to take pictures, that's absolutely cool. So it's about iterative improvement. So one of the things we often miss out is that our learners know far better how they want to receive their learning. Agile learning is about putting learners at the heart. So iterative improvement is about getting them involved in the design process and the changes that go on. I lectured at university many years ago, and we talked about learner-centered learning years ago, but we're still struggling in organizations to make learning learner-centered. So I'd say don't aim for perfection, but get folks working in an environment and get their feedback and get some iterative improvement. We have an instance on our program where the guys actually wanted to change the shape of the platform. We work with an organization called Avado. They actually gave us feedback, and we've got a much better product now than we would have had if we just had the L&D team working on that. So agility says we get learners involved in an iterative cycle, which comes down to learners at the heart of the design. We like to think we are the crucial people in the learning process, and we are knowledgeable people. And as I look out here, huge experience represented in this theatre today. But actually learners often know far more about what they're trying to solve than we actually do. So this kind of process about learner-centered design is a really important one for us to grab hold of. And what I'd kind of encourage in this one, and what we did in our program, was we actually, from the very first principle, we got them as part of the needs analysis. So again, often we as learning departments are kind of, or our managers are doing needs analysis, but we need to ask the learners, how would you like to receive this? And if they've got a suggestion, be it, we'll see in a minute, it could be via curated stuff being sent to my email box, or it could be we want a social community, or it could be we're going to make micro videos. We need to listen how that's happening. And many organisations we're working with now, say on the micro video now, are using their mobile phones in the organisations to allow the learners to create their own content, which is just so cool to have that going on. So number 4, get learners right at the heart of the design. Now here's a challenge for us. I'm a man of a certain age, so if I say anytime, any place, anywhere, the word martini comes to me. Some of you will know that. Some of you younger ones will just think this man is insane. But there used to be an advert which said anytime, any place, anywhere, which was the slogan for martini as a drink. So in a sense, what we've got to do in terms of agile learning is to recognize that our learners want to access stuff anytime, anywhere in the flow of what they're doing. And that's not just in the workplace. Again, the research we've been doing with Towards Maturity would indicate over 40% of learners want to learn in their own time. Now, we may have concerns about that in terms of whether we as learning and HR professionals should be requiring people. I don't think we should require it. But many learning professionals are now seeing that their folks want to learn on the bus, on the way in. I was on the district line today listening to a podcast on how to develop social communities. So this is a real challenge for us, and we can't normally do this without digital, and this is the reason you're probably learning tech. So the question is, can you provide it wherever your folks want to access it? And we're seeing some big corporates doing some amazing things, actually taking their learning outside the company system firewall. It's like shock horror. You know, this stuff is not sensitive, to allow people to log on with their own devices on the train or wherever they're going. So I think that's a really good question to say, can your folks access this stuff? And if they can, that's excellent. And that's an aspiration I think we should have. Number 6 is about curation. Agile content is about curation. We work with people like Martin Cousins, who are fantastic around this, to say there's a mindset change that's needed in learning to get kind of agility and curation moving in place. Just turn to the person next to you and say, someone has designed something which is better than you have, all right? I know it's going to be provocative, but just turn to the person next to you and say, someone has designed something which is better than you have. Go on, just remind them, okay? Please just remind them, okay? And I'll tell you why in a minute. Someone has designed... So David's part of my team. David, people have designed stuff much better than CIPD have designed stuff. I know it's difficult to imagine, but that is the truth. So we need to recognize in this content-rich world that there are many people out there who are designing fantastic learning resources. Who's ever watched a TED Talk? Okay, so practically all of us. Who's ever watched one of those fantastic Royal Society animations, video scribe things? Less of you, okay. So we recognize that most of us see fantastic resources out there. The challenge for us is that often we want to create it ourselves and have our own logo on it. So there's a real mentality change here that agile learning means that it doesn't necessarily have to be our stuff, even if we like that kind of control that it's something we've created. So curating is really important, and around curation, 3 things. One, it's about mindsets, that we suddenly realize that we can bring other materials in, and it's totally acceptable for us to do that. I can talk to you about IP later if you want to do that. If you're not making money from this, it's totally acceptable to do that. So mindset is one, skill set is another. If you're not on social media, those kind of things, you'll need to get more excited about those kind of delivery mechanisms. And the other one is a kind of tool set as well. So there's all sorts of great tools. We've got some advice on that we can share with you. But you can set up RSS feeds, you can set up twirlies on your Twitter accounts, which will actually harvest fantastic stuff which you can look at. So be a curator and provide resources that someone else has created. And also you can create your own low-cost video and audio. Just for a bit of fun, if you've got a camera now, hold your phone up and take a picture now. Let's just take a load of pictures. You can delete them at the end of the session. Just put your phone up. If you've got a phone here, put your phone up. Come on, I'll put my phone up and take a lovely picture of you, okay? So Andrew Jacobs tends to do this kind of stuff. My goodness, you look so beautiful. Okay, let me take a picture of you. Okay, so you've just captured some live digital content. Why not actually capture a little podcast or something other like that? So we recognize that low-cost audio and video, you have a mixing suite in your pocket now, which you can create brilliant stuff. And we're seeing organizations now involving their learners in grabbing great content, in interviewing senior managers, experts within the organization. I worked for a big housing association before CIPD, working with older people. We had folks who were specialists on dementia, and if only we could capture some of their thinking and share that around. So you can actually create brilliant low-cost audio content and video content. And on our CPD that we're offering here, part of the assessments are done on your phone, which is just so cool. Are you hanging in there okay? You doing all right? Excellent. Okay, number 8. I'm just going to have a quick slurp of water. Agile requires communities. We are a socialized community here. I guess there's 120 of us here. Okay, we are sharing our thinking together. And Agile really requires community discussions and conversations. So a key skill for us is to actually scaffold, which is a great term from Julian Stodd, about scaffolding places where people can hang around and talk. So often these real-time conversations can be really crucial in helping solve problems. So again, it's not just about putting a system into the company, because we hear loads of people, we put Yammer in and we put all these things and no one uses it. Maybe it's about thinking what platforms they personally use. One of the big banks we've been working with has put Facebook at work in, because most people are using Facebook. They're getting a huge traction in terms of discussions happening because they're using socialized systems that people understand. So it might be worth thinking which social platforms might be really useful for your guys to have discussions and solve each other's problems. Meanwhile, we can have a muffin and a cup of tea and sit back while the organisation talks to each other and solves problems, which is kind of cool. Number 9, working out loud and sharing practice through blogs and vlogs. Many of our young ones coming into the workplace now are very, very familiar with creating vlogs and blogs. So my son is now 17. He creates his own vlogs. He did one recently on the National Citizenship Service when he went away, and quite a few people were downloading his vlog to see what it was like as a young person going on this particular program. So why not think about getting your folks to actually start short blogs during the week, or creating little video blogs of things they're up to, great ideas. Again, we're seeing one retailer who's now getting the key sales staff to create a little weekly vlog on what's been going on, how they can improve it. This stuff is free and very easy to post, so Agile community is really important. And webinars are not new, but do you know what? We can create really simple digital classrooms now. Simple webinars where we can share great thinking. If you've not done kind of work about how to design and deliver webinars, I'd really encourage you to think about that. Somewhere over there, there's a little, one of your chairs has got a little CIPD post-it note. Just have a look, whoever's got the little post-it note on their chair. Who's got the post-it note? Okay. A freebie from me, from my heart to you, my pocketbook on how to design great webinars. So pass that back, don't nick it on the way, okay? That's available on stand Q7. We need to understand there are principles in how to design webinars. So I wrote that little pocketbook to give you some practical ideas, but try and get some webinars going where we can go across boundaries to actually share those things. So we're just about finished. I've got a few slides. Just having a look at those things here. Again, turn to the person next to you. Which do you think of these 10 things would give you a really quick win in terms of making your learning more agile? Okay, so have a quick look, and we've just got a couple of slides just to finish after that. So have a quick look. What do you reckon is the one that might give you a quick win? So just share with the person next to you. I'll put them up here. Could be low-cost video content. Maybe it's a community. Just for a minute, just have a share what you think you could do to make your learning provision more agile. Okay. I shall finish where I started. So we're back to Alice in Wonderland, the confusing Wonderland in which we find ourselves as learning and development professionals right now. This is where Alice meets the caterpillar. The Disney cartoon, I'm sure, shows the caterpillar smoking something and looking very chilled on his mushroom as Alice approaches and looks quite disturbed. "Who are you?" says the caterpillar. And Alice replied rather shyly, "I hardly know, sir, at present. At least I knew who I was when I got up this morning, but I think I must have changed several times since then." This is the reality of where we're going in the next few years. We may think right now what we're seeing is the future of learning, but this is going to change so much. So we need to recognize that this kind of morphing process is really important. And did you know, anybody remember as a kid having tadpoles? I know you shouldn't do this. If there's anybody from nature conservation, I'm going to get told off right now. But if you remember tadpoles, the weird thing was that some of them sprouted legs faster than others. So they don't all morph at the same speed. And what you'll find is if you talk to people who are involved in this kind of thing, is that the creature somehow recognizes the external environment and responds accordingly. So the challenge to you and I is the external environment is changing, it's getting faster. The question is, how can we be more agile in what we do? Just to finish, I'm hanging around on stand 10, which is just over there. We were really lucky to win a Learning Technologies Award for this new digital program that we've done, which embraced all those 10 principles. So I'm talking from that. This is a qualifications program. You can do individual units, all sorts of things there. But this is something that we're role modeling as well. So if you're interested in talking to us a bit more, we're on stand T10. Avado here who are working with us. We'd be delighted to talk to you if you want to find out a bit more about how you can be developed in your professional practice. So let's stop reinventing the same old wheel and let's herald a new agile environment for learning and development. Thank you for coming over, really appreciate your time. I hope there was something useful for you in that half an hour. Thank you very much. Okay.